Section 6.3.2 Position of the placard attached to vessels, container, and tanks. The placard shall be attached to the side of the vessel, container, and tank. If the vessel, container, or tank is used repeatedly, the placard can be a plate and hung on to the side of the vessel. Container or tank stores hazardous waste encased of a containment building. All the types of hazardous waste contained in the building should be included in the plate. Conveyances transporting hazardous waste shall place the corresponding placards on each side and back. So in section 6 for packaging requirements. Requirements for vessels, container and tanks and containment buildings. 1 is in good condition without leaks or damage. Second is made from materials suitable for the characteristics of the hazardous waste to be stored and equipped with a prong, lid or cap to prevent spillage during the transport. Section 6.4 Packaging requirements. So muna yung mga packaging procedures. Number 1 is waste in small containers that are compatible with each other may be packed in a longer overpacked container. Kedua is waste, i.e. aerosol cans, compressed gases, and pressurized liquids are packaged separately from each other waste. Lastly is the concentrated acids, base, and other similar waste are placed back in their original place, glass containers, and placed in their original foam packaging. So, kanang makita ninyo sa picture, mo na siyang ginatawag na the manifest system or the paper manifest chain of costly paper that documents the movement of the waste. So, isa ko na sa inyo kung sa mga ko na lang na-draw sa picture. So, ang generator, this is the facility, usually company or industry that procedures hazardous waste. Tapos sa transporter, the hazardous waste is picked up by registered transporter. Tapos in the storage facility, waste may be temporarily stored in a proper facility before further processing. Tapos in the treatment facility, the hazardous waste is sent to treatment plant to reduce its toxicity or prepare it for disposal. Tapos in disposal facility naman is treated waste is finally taken to a disposal facility where it is safely discharged. Tapos ang last is back to generator na. Muna siya, the manifest system completes the loop by documenting the return or tracking of process data. Chapter 7 Hazardous Waste Transport Record or the manifest system. Waste generator initiating the process. Una, ang button is to log into the system using the username and password. Next is fill in the necessary information. Tapos, the waste generator will receive email notification, then proceed to the EMB regional office of the payment, bring the printout notification, now paid the online to LBP. Input your OR number into the manifest system, thus ready for evaluation, and notice of acceptance will be sent once approved. Chapter 7 Hazardous Waste Transport Record 7.2 Transporter continuing the manifest application. Upon receiving the notice of acceptance, the waste transporter shall log into the system using the username and password provided. Fill in the required information and submit online. Ready for evaluation. Insurance of hazardous waste manifest acknowledgement letter. Simultaneously, the EMB regional office shall send a notice of acceptance to the TSD facility. Chapter 7 Hazardous Waste Transport Record 7.3 TSD facility continuing the manifest application. Within 2 days upon receipt of the notice of acceptance as well as receipt of the waste, the TSD shall log into the system. Fill in the requirement information and submit online. Within 45 days from receipt of the waste, the TSD facility shall fill in the required portion of the manifest form and issue the certificate of treatment COT. Then ready for evaluation, issuance of the acceptance letter, and close out the manifest form. Chapter 8 Contingency Program This chapter outlines the emergency preparedness and response plan for handling hazardous waste in incidents. One is the evacuation route. Clearly marked paths for safety evacuation during emergencies. PPE, or the personal protective equipments. Necessary safety gear for personnel involved in emergency response. Number 3 is spill containment procedure. Step-by-step instructions to control, contain, and confine hazardous spills. 4. Response equipment. Inventory of tools and materials used to manage emergencies, spill kits, extinguishers, and alarms. 5 is decontamination process. Procedures to clean personnel, tools, and affected areas after an incident. 6. Drills and exercises. Regularly schedule emergency drills to ensure staff readiness. Tapos, diri sa training and awareness plan is to educating employees on emergency rules and procedures. Tapos, in reporting and record keeping, documenting all incident response and drills. And program updates, regularly review and updates of the contingency plan based on changes in operations or regulations. So in Chapter 9, Personal Training, hazardous waste management includes 1. Regulatory framework, understanding the laws and regulations governing toxic and hazardous substances. Number 2. Waste identification, learning to identify types and characteristics of hazardous waste. Number 3 is hazards and waste, knowing the dangers involved in handling hazardous waste. 4. Labeling and placarding, proper methods for marking and labeling hazardous materials. Number 5. Proper storage, guidelines for safety storing hazardous waste. Number 6. Public participations and risk communications, engaging the public and effectively communication risks associated with hazardous waste. 7. Site investigations and remediations, procedures for inspecting and cleaning up contaminated sites. Number 8. Siting of waste management facilities, deciding the best locations for waste treatment and disposal facilities. Number 9. Waste minimizations, cleaner productions, methods for reducing waste and promoting sustainable productions practices. Number 10. Treatment and disposal technologies, techniques and tools used for treating or safely disposing of hazardous waste. And lastly, number 11. Healthcare waste management, special focus on handling and disposing of waste from healthcare settings like hospitals and clinics. Chapter 10. Import of recyclable materials containing hazardous substances and export of hazardous waste. Legal framework covers laws and regulations for handling hazardous waste imports and exports. So, muna ang requirements for importers of hazardous waste. 1 is must register with authorities. 2 is follow a proper registration process. Get a clearance for every shipment. Meet specific safety and documentation requirements and conduct testing and sampling of imported materials. Tapos maupod ni ang requirements for exporters of hazardous waste. Must comply with international agreements, ensure proper notification, consent, and documentation, and follow safety packaging and transport procedures. The Basel Convention of the Transboundary Movements of Hazardous Waste and their Disposal, adopted by the Conference of the Plenipotentiaries on March 22, 1989 in Basel, Switzerland, entered into force on May 5, 1992. Ratified by the Philippine Senate on October 21, 1993, thus the Philippines became a signatory and a contracting party. Entered into force on January 1, 1994, and the Department of Environment and Natural Resources Environmental Management Bureau is the focal point and competent authority of the convention. The Basel Convention of the Transboundary Movements of Hazardous Waste and Their Waste Disposal. Requirements, commitments, and restrictions. Prohibit transboundary movement of waste from OECD to non-OECD that belongs to any category contained in Annex 1 or Article 1. Prohibit parties to export or import waste either for disposal or recovery operations from non-parties, Article 6 to 7, in the absence of bilateral, multilateral, and regional arrangement in Article 11. Encourage parties to ratify decisions made during Conference of Parties for local implementation and for decisions to enter into force, Article 4. Encourage parties to report domestic legislations to the Secretarial. DENR Administrative Order Number 28 Series of 1994. Interim Guidelines of the Importation of Recyclable Materials containing hazardous substances. Allows the importation of the following recyclable materials: scrap materials, lead acid, batterized and metal bearings sludge, solid plastic materials, and electronic assemblies and scraps. All information must follow the requirements and procedures of the Basel Convention. Notification consent between parties. Waste to be imported must have a definite receiving facility with the essential environmental permits and clearance. O panapirmahan akong clearance. Amending Annex of the AO 94 to 28 allows the importation of used oil and oil residues provided the spent oil have no traces of polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs. Excludes importation of tanker sludge.